Hi friends, Reenah from down under Australia. That girl with that strange Australian accent. I must say I've watched myself on video and I have no idea what you guys are talking about because there's no accent here.
You sound like yourself.
Yeah. Today I'm talking to Susanna Marie in California. Hi, Susanna.
Hi, Reenah. Nice to be here with you.
Connection is why we're here. And connection is how we're wired.
Mm.
Often peripheries meet peripheries. And we believe that we've met. Yet really, we're meeting perceived boundaries, one after the other.
Mm.
What is it to receive an other?
What is it to receive another?
Mm.
Mm. Well, it's a dance, isn't it? It's such a dance. So many things are happening. So many sensations arise when you meet another, and thoughts and feelings, and we get to dance with that. And the way I see it is that we get to find out about ourselves by meeting another. We get to grow and expand upon how we feel inside. You know, is our heart touched? Or does our throat feel a little bit closed up? Or is there nervousness or tension or ease? What kind of resonance is happening? Those are the thoughts that come to mind when we meet other.
Often there can be like a layer or layers when we meet another person, and we think that we're meeting this person, our daughter, our partner, our friend, and often we're meeting our thoughts about this person or this situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's, and I guess this is what I meant by boundaries, that we're meeting our boundaries, our perceived boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when we meet somebody, you know, really, it's one of the most fulfilling things, isn't it, to connect with somebody, because we get to see ourselves and we get to feel ourselves.
Mm-hmm. It's exciting, yeah. You never know what's gonna arise. We can enter into it a lot of it depends on our state of mind and how we're feeling in the moment. Is, you know, what are we bringing when we meet another? What kind of state are we meeting them with? Are we feeling an open, kind of welcoming acceptance inside? For oneself, actually, first. It starts first within oneself. What's happening here? And then that really determines how we're meeting another. Are we in a hurry, or do we have time? Are we taking the time? So it's really, it's such a mirror. It's such a mirror. And then this resonance starts to happen between yourself and this other person. If there's enough time to settle in, and you get to look in somebody's eyes and start to drop into beingness, drop into your beingness together. Or not. You're passing in the street and there's just this moment, you know? So, yeah, there are boundaries, boundaries of self meeting boundaries of self with the other. And when there's a pause, we get to kind of play and see and dance with those boundaries and see what's really true, what's really happening here. And I think a lot of it has to do with trust. How much trust is there to relax those boundaries?
Yeah.
And explore and see what's there, you know? And is there a desire to see what's there? We don't have a desire to deeply connect with everyone. We pick and choose, don't we?
We certainly have our preferences.
Yeah. We have our circles, we have our families, and then we have some openness, some extra, that we can meet people, new people.
So you have satsangs or hold satsangs in your home, and there's a meeting of people. What happens in this circle of meeting?
A lot of it because I consider myself a body type, in the sense that the way that I experience other, for the most part, seems to be via my body, and via sensation and the intelligence of receiving information through sensation. So when I sit in a circle, I like to have gatherings that are held in a circle, and because I feel in my heart that we're all equal, and we're coming, and we're all sharing in bringing ourselves to the circle with our own with presence and our own unique flavor of how that presence translates through each person. And so for me, there's an incredible amount of learning and delight to be able to be in a circle with others and feel into the unique quality that each person is. There seems to be sort of this innate intelligence that we all are, that arises out of this meeting, that senses what is needed in terms of what could further facilitate the deepening as a group into presence through voice, through movement, and through shared verbally. That's part of what the role is of playing the role of facilitator.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because often when we go into satsangs or teachers, there may be the teacher up there that's just sharing, and it's really nice when it becomes interactive and everyone gets to express and bring their unique quality through.
Yeah.
And it's because then it is a giving and it is a receiving, and the teacher is there to learn as much as the people who attend. You know, it's
absolutely. Yeah.
It's a sort of a unified thing. So sometimes, which is a really good thing for us to watch, because sometimes we go to these things and we go there because we think something's missing and we think that we're going to get something. And this is just a collective underlying thought that many of us hold, that what am I going to get out of this? And when we come in with what am I going to give, or, you know, I'm going to give myself, it just invites a whole new space.
Right. Yeah, totally. And what is each person? What can they give? There's an invitation there to welcome the intelligence that each person already is, perfectly, you know, just as they are, in however way it's arising. So the way that I see it is that everyone is already whole, and people are coming in order to be able to share of themselves, and then maybe we're always remembering more. We're always remembering more of ourselves. That's how I see it. There's more remembering happening here, more understanding, more receiving the truth of the matter, which is that we're the whole thing. We're all of it. So there is so much possibility of endless free falling into this that we are. And I see us all as Buddhas. So as in a circle, we're all Buddhas, and we'll just see what happens. We'll see what comes out of different Buddha mouths. So there's a real invitation to be able to speak from that place. That's how I hold satsang, to be able to share in the speaking from that place, and or just in the silence. And then whatever is may be in the way of knowing that for oneself, being able to meet together what kind of thoughts and what kind of beliefs are being believed in, that we are all not that you are not that. So
how do we know? How do we know when we are holding these beliefs, beliefs that we're not that?
how do we
see that? Yeah.
Well, you mean for each individual to know that for themselves?
Yeah, or for yourself, yeah.
Well, if there's a sort of a question, I think mostly it comes from people's own truth. Like they will know for themselves how they hold and see themselves in relationship to the whole. So if they're giving cues or asking questions to me, for instance, then I can take that information and together we can look at that and see. One of the ways I would imagine that you would know that is that there would be hesitancy. There would be hesitancy in terms of accepting and really knowing for yourself that you're the whole, that you are all of it. And if there's a willingness to tell the truth, then that can emerge. There's no insisting. There's no insisting. I mean, we are the whole even when we don't know it. All the little hidden aspects, even within that, we're still the whole.
So this noticing happens in the body.
Mm-hmm.
It's felt in the body.
The noticing.
Because, we often live our lives not knowing that we're running on some sort of thought or story or, on automatic, and, it's just like life living itself and there's movement. Yet when you notice in the body, like when we feel into our sense perceptions,
Yeah.
you can feel energy in different areas. And I guess we could say that this is one way of recognizing whether something's a truth or not.
I see. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
Because when it's contracting often, where there's energy stuck in the body, if it's tense in the belly or in the chest, there's some sort of little unconscious story, whether we know it or not, that's sort of running it. And often contractions are not really true, are they? The stories that go with them.
Right. They're just that, the contraction. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like a belief, a limiting belief.
Right. Right. So Well, as you know, beliefs can appear in the mind as thought, and beliefs appear in the body as sensation. And for those who are comfortable being able to go within and meet sensation, there's certainly one way to dialogue and to be able to either on one's own or with another in the group, be able to tune in and see what's going on and feel into it as you're suggesting. Just feeling into if there is a contraction. I don't necessarily feel personally like that means that there's something untrue or something. To me, it's just that there is a sensation that's calling for itself, and it's the way that I see it is that it's calling for itself in order to be able to return back to wholeness. So
yes, it's calling to be met, isn't it? It's calling to be felt and met and acknowledged.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's very patient. It's very non-insisting, although it insists through feeling. But it's just it'll be there, you know, sometimes as long as it's needed, until consciousness turns its attention on this aspect of itself that is needing attention. You know, it's like loving an innocent child that has been put in a corner for a while. You know, and a lot of those things come from, since we're little children, they're unmet pains and beliefs and times we've turned away from ourselves, and they're waiting for just this light of awareness to come and reclaim it and embrace it. A lot of times I speak to people about how if there was a baby that crawled into your lap, how most likely there would be a loving kindness towards that baby. There would be gentleness and a lack of judgment and a sweetness. And that's how we can be with our own bodies. That's how we can be with these contractions, is turning. I see a lot of it, so much healing it comes from loving kindness towards yourself.
Yes, so contractions are not a negative thing per se.
Right.
Perhaps habitually there's a movement away from contraction when it arises because we've never sort of felt comfortable or I guess trusted to free fall with that.
Right.
And but really, you know, each contraction holds a freedom within it.
Yes, absolutely.
In that, the very meeting of it, you know, like when we sort of move away from it, attention just shifts somewhere else. Yet that starts to store. Like, say for me, I feel it like in a spot in the body or something, and until it's met, you know, a situation will come for it to arise and to arise, and the appearance is that the situation comes from outside of me.
Right, right.
Yet really it's a gifting each time,
right.
An invitation, if you like, for me to go inside and really free fall with it.
Yes, yes.
And in this free fall, there's that meeting, like you point to, you know, it's bringing it home. Often for me, it gives me a little message or a little story, you know, so it's just something that wants to be held, and this is where I meet my aloneness. And aloneness is not met only in contraction, you know, because aloneness is.
Right.
Yet I think that with contractions we've often viewed them like as the enemy or as something sort of separate, fearful.
Yeah, we're
It's a
turning.
very gift in being human. You know, we couldn't be human beings without contractions, right? How would we know? How would we know experience like anything without the sensation of contraction?
Yeah, how would we know what we are and what we're not? And then in the end, we get to again embrace what we are.
So let's. Sorry. Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say. So I think the suffering comes with contraction when we build story on it.
Right. And when we turn away from ourselves, because in essence we're turning away from when there's a contraction and there's a turning away that happens. So there's a denial of the experience of what we are in that possibility. We're denying knowing that possibility, which is very tender and vulnerable, and we don't actually know because it just feels so strong. So there comes a time in one's life where there's another opportunity to be able to turn towards those areas that we denied because we didn't have the tools. It's a very innocent thing, you know. It usually, you know, and it continues to be innocent even now. If it happens now and we turn away, and then there's like, well, what did I just do? To me, that's becoming ever more conscious. You know, ever more willing to meet ourselves, because we have the capacity, we really do, to be able to welcome and accept all aspects of ourselves, not only here, but as other. When you're talking about the boundaries, well, in the end, we get to experience all of life as ourselves, all of life. And so that innocence, the sweetness of being able to say yes, really it's a very big yes that we end up saying. When we welcome the contractions, we welcome even our fear of, that may arise in meeting it. There's a deeper welcoming that's even larger than even turning towards. It's like that, it's just beingness itself, really being able to settle into beingness to such an extent that when these things arise, it's okay, including feeling some trepidation around meeting something so big, if there is something so big. And that then translates. Everything we do inside is going to translate of how we meet life. You know, how we see the so-called outer.
So let's look at vulnerability. You know, vulnerability is what makes me beautiful, yet also vulnerability is something that we really fear. It's like we think that if I show this part of myself, I might not be liked, or I might not be worthy of love.
Right.
You know, like we talk about free falling to sensation, and perhaps there's an understanding there between you and I. But for viewers like my Macedonian mother, who would really love to get this, what would we say about free fall into vulnerability in a practical way? What is that?
Well, that's a really good question. First of all, there is a bit of a turning. There is a total turning towards. So there's that feeling of shying away. Let's say there's a feeling that's there, and there's an opportunity to really let yourself feel it. That is a very vulnerable moment. A feeling comes, and it's an invitation to really pay attention and to feel it. So vulnerability is present right then. And then there are all these different movements. There's a shying away. There's a total turning away. There's maybe a, trying to manage it or work towards it or say, maybe later, which is okay. But in the end, everything that is calling for our attention, everything, it wants to be felt for a reason. And the way that I see it is that there's inherent intelligence that is contained in all these sensations.
Okay, so I'm just going to slow this down one notch. Okay, so we're feeling into sensation, right? You're pointing to feeling into that and the invitation of that. Simultaneously, attention seems to be on thoughts at the same time. It can be. What do we do when our attention is like, we want to go towards here, yet attention drags us with the story?
Right. Well, if that's happening, then it's unlikely you're really feeling the vulnerability, right? So if your attention is being dragged to story, it's an escape from feeling. So it's a defense mechanism to feeling.
Okay, so we bring our attention just back to the body.
So we bring our attention back
to the body.
Back to the body, back to the sensations, back to feeling, back home, right? Rather than this wayward child that's running away. You rein it back in and say, it's okay, it's safe. What's happening right here is yourself. Do you want to run away from yourself, from this opportunity to really get to know yourself and feel? And that's really brings you into the moment. People talk all the time about being in the now, being here. Well, being with those thoughts that are racing in order to protect oneself against this vulnerability puts you in time. So bringing back the attention to the body, it brings you back to here and now. What's going on? Oh, there is this feeling of wanting to escape. There's a feeling of wanting to run away. Okay, that's telling the truth. That's how I see it. It's telling the truth. It's meeting what's arising right here, right now. What is that? What is this? What is this desire to want to escape this moment? The body, everything is just waiting. It's just like waiting patiently for us to land in this moment, to be right here. Every moment is an invitation to be right here with what's arising. And it can be uncomfortable, but don't we want to be here? If you're watching this video, if you're paying attention to these kinds of hangouts, these places, then most likely you're wanting to learn how to be here, to be really here. And that's what I see as being, when people talk about being awake. I mean, to me, that's like being here, being awake to this moment with what's arising, with even the fight or flight instinct of wanting to leap out of this moment. It's closing the gap between the next moment and this moment, and it closes the gap, and you end up being right here with the vulnerability. And at first it can feel, for many, it can feel kind of intense. When you stop running, I mean, a lot of that is running. But you receive yourself when you stop running. You receive the greatest gift. Every moment.
Yes, this is it. It all happens within our system. Every meeting,
Mm.
You know, every felt sense, every perception of the person. What does this person think of me? What do I think of that person? Am I defending it? Just all happens within this system, and all these thoughts that arise, they, you know, they're not bad thoughts or anything. It's just sometimes we sort of seem to empower them with our belief.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. That's the
Yeah, and other times, yeah, when we really sit with the body, like you're saying, you know, a trust arises, you know, just a felt sense of knowing that what is, you know, what is here, what is really here.
exactly.
And the meeting of the other person happens within my system, happens within me receiving myself.
Mm, lovely. Yeah, you give yourself your own gift yourself.
Yeah, you know, we give ourselves our own gift.
Yeah,
It's on giving.
yeah.
So I really enjoy your feminine expressions, Susanna.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to I'd like to invite you to share on what you'd like to, because I remember when I spoke to you, you said there was something very close to your heart, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to express and talk about what you really feel called to.
Thank you. Yeah. Hmm. That's a nice invitation. What is most close to my heart right now? I mean, in terms of sharing, is so much of what we're talking about is the embodiment piece of really um, bringing all of ourselves on board, welcoming all of ourselves, every aspect of our being, all expression, and fully knowing that everything is God, every single thing. You know, so many words can be used. Um, there, as you know, and it feels like that the split between realization, and that's from the absolute point of view, and what we are made of, and the content, feels like that split's merging, and that more people are speaking about it more than ever. And I am really happy to see that. And it seems like we're at this kind of a leap in consciousness to integrate and to include more and more of itself. It feels like that's what's happening. And so to be able to speak about it and find words and kind of, you know, attempt something that's in a way kind of new, which is speaking about how utterly inclusive this that we are really is, that nothing is separate from it. And intellectually, we may know that. We may have heard that enough and all that. But the realization of it is an ongoing, in my experience, an ongoing, embodied, living reality. Every day, every moment. And I have such excitement of I am this too, and this feeling, this thought, even this person, this bug, this rotting apple, whatever it is, from the inside out, this inclusiveness. And to me, it is, you know, to me, it's such a gift. I see this. I see this earth. I see her as alive. I mean, it's not just alive in terms of growing things, but in terms of a being. I really see this mother as a being, and that we've been gifted these bodies and the awareness to be able to see ourselves, to know ourselves here, and to know ourselves ever more fully. And in this way, life gets to know itself ever more fully. You know, uniquely as Reenah, with this sweet personal flavor of Reenah, gets to know herself in this absolutely beautiful, unique way. So eclectic, so unique, and so varied, moment to moment. And life gets to know itself through this being here, me, and through my daughter, and through my son, and through all the viewers, and through everything that exists, you know, including the trees and the rocks. Everything has in consciousness, and everything has the capacity to become awake to itself. Why do you feel like you do it?
Do what? Play my role as interviewer?
Yeah.
It's really, I like this role, you know, because it's sort of like a not knowing role. Like, I don't have any answers. I'll just throw the questions. No, I get to bathe in the beauty of each person that I talk to. You know, I meet a new aspect of myself, because every person I meet is just another expression of myself, and you know, it's just such a delight to feel and to acknowledge that. And I get to talk to lots of different beautiful people all the time, so I get to move. I get to see different facets of my crystal, and so, you know, I come and I sort of, in a way, you know, the questions that arise playing this role, it just comes from a collective thought. You know, some of them may sound conscious or unconscious, but I have a lot of different people watching this too. You know, like I've got some of my cousins who haven't had much to do with spirituality, so I really try to bring it down to earth and very practical. You know, so people can get it. And
so I mean, you know, it's really a different thing speaking with a viewership in mind.
Yeah, like, you know, we're connecting here, and I just because I haven't done too many of these. I've done a few of them, and you know, I've received so many emails from different people, and it's really lovely to get feedback that people get to sort of look at themselves, and you know, just sharing our experience. As you said, each expression is a unique expression. Like for me, I know the way I move, I move in a felt sense through feeling my body. I think I put up recently a story that one of my daughters wrote about our family.
Yes.
And we were talking about embracing each other's spirit animal and the embodiment of that.
Yep.
And what I learned about one of my daughters, who has taken on a snake as her spirit animal, is she moves on the earth. Her body, her belly slides on the earth. And this is how she meets life, with her belly on the earth. And I learned this through just being with her. You know, there was some resistance to this because it moves in a way that's a little bit different. And then embodying this movement with my belly crawling on the earth, it's just a whole new take.
Right, and you get to learn and expand upon the way that you learn. You get to take in through your love for her.
Yeah.
Take it in. You can feel the belly, you know, on the earth with her in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my experience as well with when we open ourselves up to other people, and we open ourselves up to how they, how they perceive. It is a bit of imagination that's used, but we learn through imagination as well. We can tap into ourselves by using imagination, because
imagine. So go on, yeah.
We get sensory input through imagination. Like we imagine ourselves, on our bellies on the earth. There's imagination, and then sensation arises, and a connection to organic matter to the earth, and we get informed. We get to learn about ourselves through how everyone is connected to this wholeness, to what, through their own unique way, their own unique lens, like you said, the facets of the crystal. And we get to know ourselves together in that way.
Yeah. It's also observing and also honouring the mind and honouring the so-called ego that so often we talk about as almost like some separate entity, the ego. Watch out for that big bad ego.
I know.
Really, the ego. Yet it's just such an honoured thing. It's just a thought that's once again empowered by belief, and somehow it creates sensation in the body that I make a story up about, and it's beautiful because I get to sort of see it and feel it and sort of go, oh no, actually it's not really true.
Yeah, and we get to make friends with this story. We can, in the end, to me, ego is just a sense of self, and it becomes subtler and subtler. It's an innocent thing. Having a sense of self is a survival mechanism, and so we want to have a sense of self. Even if it's just very subtle, but it's part of this personal fragrance that makes up you, Reenah, and makes up me and our daughters. This personal fragrance that is this unique aspect of life, of God, that's coming through and getting to know itself through this unique aspect. And when it's just known as a sense of self, right, then it can be played with, it can be felt it can be approached and felt as love. It really is an aspect of consciousness that's meeting itself everywhere. As you know, when we get lost in this sense of self is when we suffer. We get lost in beliefs and in imagining that we are this and that, and we're separate, and that we, that we're not worthy. All these different beliefs arise out of really believing that we have that we're really a solid sense of self. I don't really use the word ego, not that it's to make the word wrong. I just find it confusing for a lot of people, and then we can demonize something that is actually just an innocent aspect that believed in itself, that turned away, just like we were talking about vulnerability, how it's so easy to turn away from vulnerability. But we mature, and the way I see it is that one of the opportunities of developing and maturing as a human being is that we get to look at this sense of self and really see what's true. Are we really separate from the whole? How much of a sense of self do we need? And is it bad? All these beliefs around even that it's a negative thing. Some people think we should just, in the end, you don't have a sense of self, but it's just not true. That's not how I see it.
It's not how I feel it either. Vulnerability is also showing those parts of myself that I'm really not comfortable with, that I believe will be judged.
For sure.
And that's probably one reason why a lot of us sort of move away from it. You know, particularly you know, amongst peers. You know, and I've seen it a lot with teenagers, how they want to sort of fit in, and you know, sort of start to see where the vulnerability starts to slide, because you know, you sort of become a chameleon, turning to become what the other person, what I believe the other person wants to see, rather than just moving from here. The fear of a belief in abandonment, a belief in being rejected. Like, I mean, it's actually not possible for someone to reject you, but it certainly feels like that when it's felt that someone's not liking what you're saying, or you know, what you're doing, what you're expressing. And sometimes what I'm saying and what I'm expressing is not true, yet you know, I still let it come out. I still let it have its voice. And through expressing verbally, I really get to hear it differently. And I get even a deeper felt sense for what I've just said. You know, I can come back and watch this video and go, oh, Reenah, you were saying so much stuff there, and you know, and I sort of get to love myself even more.
Absolutely,
willing to just be how it comes out.
Right, we get to burn in the vulnerability of watching the video. I mean, so much of this is comes down to a very simple thing that is really turns out to be not so simple. And in terms of you said what it might interest your viewers. I mean, the meeting oneself with loving kindness, to me, is the key. To know yourself as love and have self-love for yourself is the key. All these arisings that happen inside, all these feelings, vulnerabilities, tensions and thoughts, beliefs, all of those can be met with this when we have this innate love for oneself inside. That, to me, is really the place to be turning one's attention. And that's the way that I meet my children, who are teenagers, right? So, you know, they may not be seeing themselves with kindness in a certain way, but there's so much at this point. There's a lot of loving kindness that's happened here, right? And so that love, it gets to be shared, and it can welcome the difficult places that not only are in here, but with another. It can welcome the places that someone else is turning away, and even if it continues to be turned away, there's still a welcoming space. It's actually it's actually this vast landscape of welcoming, loving kindness.
It's like a gap. It's like this.
Like a what?
Can I also? It's like a gap. What I call a gap. It's
a gap.
An opening, a pause, and in that pause, there's no story that things are working against me, even though it may appear like something negative is happening. It's not about me, and it's just that every situation works for me, not against me. So I'm just expressing loving kindness verbally in a different way, for you know, because people are going to hear it differently.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Through Susanna's expression, through Reenah's expression, through. Yeah.
Right. Loving kindness is like the background of what we are, And within this background, these arisings appear of feeling unworthy, or having this belief, this thought, this vulnerability, this confusion. All those things will pop up in that gap that you spoke about, in this background of what we are in truth. And some people call that God, and some people call that just truth, you know, presence, loving. You know, for me, it's a loving kindness. In this moment, I don't always express it that way, but in this moment, it's just this welcoming. And then within that, these different things arise all the time, like popcorn. Things are always arising, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we live in this. It's a Sufi song we used to sing in Sufi dancing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that it's a circle dance, right? And you put
Circle dance, yeah.
here, to you I give, from you I receive,
To you I receive. Yeah.
and together, yeah. So it really
Yeah.
it speaks to our interconnection. How we're not alone, we're not isolated. We receive and give, and all the time to each other. So, yeah. Yeah.
Well, certainly received a lot from you, Susanna.
Thank you, Reenah. Same, likewise. Yeah.
So this feels like a really lovely moment to thank you.
Thank you too. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Nice to be with you. Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
Lots of love.
Lots of love.
In the poetry of space and time.